we have a fascinating guest today, Dallas Atkins, elder law attorney, and she has a lot of information to share with us on how to get our financial house in order. Welcome.
Thank you, Patty.
I'm so glad you're here. There's so many topics that you can cover, but I just want to start with the basics today. When should someone come to you?
I think although I can help somebody at any stage in the lifespan or their aging process, it's ideal if someone can start when they're younger. Starting when you're 50 or in your 60s is really great, but it doesn't mean that if you wait until you're 70 or 80 that you won't be able to, or 90. And I even had one client who was 100 years old.
Oh my goodness. Yes, so ideally to come early is best because you never know what life's going to bring you, but it's never too late.
Yes. I think the purpose of coming earlier would be that to get legal documents in order that are going to actually take into account your needs for long-term care planning. And that is, the documents should ideally be drafted when you're healthy and or when you're starting to notice that maybe it's time to start thinking about that. So part of it is to get your financial estate in order, but the other part is to look at what's going to happen if I age and need care, if I need elder care, how am I going to manage that financially? So there are a number of public benefit programs that can assist in paying for elder care, and if your documents are in order earlier, then at least the documents will have the ideal flexibility for allowing an elder law attorney to really assist in maximizing your benefits and maximizing the preservation of your estate.
Right. And so what would be the main legal documents that a person needs to have in order?
Well, I think starting at age 18, everybody needs an advanced health care directive.
And that document, you specify what your wishes are should you become seriously incapacitated?
There are a number of things you can do. One is that you can appoint somebody to be your health care agent who will make health care decisions for you if you're not able to make them yourself.
Okay.
The second thing you can do is you can specify what kind of care you might want if you're in a situation where you had to be hooked up to a lot of machines in order to survive. What is your feeling about what kind of care you would want and would not want?
Boy, important document there. Yeah.
It's a critical document.
Critical. And what about a will? Is that very important?
Well, a will is very important if you have some property. And I don't mean real estate. If you have real estate, you really should have a living trust.
Okay, and what's the difference between a living trust and a will?
Well, a will is going to say what happens after your death to property that is titled in your name. Or in your name, might be in other people's names as well, but that will govern that. And it only starts to be effective once there's a death. A trust covers what happens while you're alive and incapacitated. It also covers what happens when you die. So it acts just like a will would act after death.
Right. And I imagine some people procrastinate on taking care of these kinds of documents, but it must give them a great deal of peace of mind when they've taken care of it and they feel like their business is covered and no matter what, they'll be taken care of and their kids will be taken care of. Is that the experience that you have?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would imagine. My mother herself put off making a will, even though I, tried to gently bring it up to her, and so it ended up having to go through probate in the court system, and it's costly, and there wouldn't have been a need for it had she taken care of that. But it was just a hard thing to face her own mortality.
That is what keeps people, I think, from doing it. For younger people, somehow they don't really grasp that they could become incapacitated in one car accident.
Sure.
For the rest of us, we know we might, but we just don't want to really think about that.
Exactly. I'll think about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Or not at all.
Yes. Yes. So you mentioned durable power of attorney and how important that is.
That is so critical.
Okay.
That's critical whether or not you have a living trust. Because the durable power of attorney for financial matters will govern what happens with your property and legal and financial affairs when you're alive. It's not sufficient just to have a trust or just to have a will.
Oh.
You could assign a spouse or a sibling, sister or brother, to be your agent under a durable power of attorney. It doesn't mean you've given away that authority. It just means that you've given that agent authorities to deal with third parties.
Oh, interesting.
And you can say, okay, well, this won't be effective unless I'm incapacitated. Or you can say, this is effective immediately.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, and people might think, gosh, it's expensive to see an attorney, but when I started reading through some of the information and some of the benefits that people may not know they're eligible for under federally funded programs, I realized that you could really save them a lot of money.
That is exactly what ends up happening. And I work a lot with spouses who have a spouse in a nursing home. And if they get to me, it's almost a miracle because they really don't believe that there's going to be any assistance for them. And they've heard that Medi-Cal, as an example, is a poverty program, when in fact, when you have a spouse in a nursing home, one spouse in a nursing home and the other spouse not in a nursing home, there are some special rules, both federal rules, federal laws, and state laws and regulations that are designed to protect the spouse who's more well and at home or in assisted living as opposed to in a nursing home, to protect that person, that weller spouse, from becoming impoverished.
That is fascinating.
So the clients that I can help the most are clients who are middle-class clients, who think that they could never possibly qualify for a benefit that they've associated only with poverty and aid to families with dependent children. Really, there's a special benefit for long-term care.
So they are likely to be able to stay in their home and not have that affected while their loved one maybe has had to go into a home. Is that correct?
Yes. And the cost could be as low as zero for the copay. The Medi-Cal copay could be as low as zero, and the assets that they might be able to own and not cause a problem for Medi-Cal could be hundreds of thousands of dollars more than they ever could even imagine, and the home can be protected.
Is there any last message you'd like to share?
Well, I think the most important thing I would want people to know is that the rules and laws governing elder care are very complex, almost nonsensical, illogical, and that there are some people who do specialize in this area, and there would be some help available to them.
Thank you so much. This has been fascinating and such important information to get out there. So I thank you so much for being our senior helper today.
Thank you for having me, Patty.
We wish to thank Attorney Dallas Atkins for being a guest on our show today. If you'd like to contact Dallas Atkins, you may reach her at area code 805-687-8782 or visit her website at atkinseldercarelaw.com. This program has been made possible by the generous help and support from Senior Helpers of Santa Barbara. www.seniorhelpers.com.